All right, Erev Tov, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight in a special Shavuot shiur. Hopefully, I won't be too long to give over the ideas I want to share tonight. Tonight's shiur is generally sponsored by Mr. and Mrs. Jack Ben Shimol in memory of her father, Mr. Machluf Ben Aksas Zichrono Livracha. The words of Torah we say tonight should be Tonight begins Shloshet Yemei Hagbala. It literally means the 3 days of limitation. This was a name that was given to the 3 days that immediately preceded the holiday of Shavuot or the Matan Torah. So on the 4th of Sivan, tonight is the 4th of Sivan. And the scriptural pesukim for these distinguished days are found in Sefer Shemot, Parashat Yitro, where Hashem commands Moshe that you're going to set boundaries around the people and to be ready for the third day that was going to take place, the third day being the day of Matan Torah. The original limitations of these days were against touching Har Sinai. You weren't allowed to touch Har Sinai, and you weren't allowed to have any marital intercourse. That was also one of the restraints they had to go through. And the people were also commanded to sanctify themselves during these days. According to halacha, those people that went the entire Sfirat HaOmer without any marriage celebrations or haircuts, now is allowed. According to all opinions, you should now, it's fine to get married, go and get a haircut, get yourself ready for Kabbalat HaTorah. The number 3 is what I want to focus on today. Good Things Come in Threes was the title of tonight's shiur. And because it's really, wherever you look, the number 3 is very much apparent. The Torah tells us at the beginning of Matan Torah, we're going to read on the first day of Shavuot, B'chodesh HaShelishi. And it was in the 3rd month of Sivan, Letzet B'nai Yisrael Me'etz Mitzrayim, Ba'u Midbar Sinai. When B'nai Yisrael came out of Egypt in the 3rd month, that is when they came to the Midbar Sinai. And why did it have to be the 3rd month? Why does the Torah have to be in the 3rd month? It says that that's Zekanini Baal Tosfot. Hashem he wanted things to run in parts of 3. And he goes on to list a whole bunch of different facts and ideas and concepts in our religion, specifically connected to the Torah, that run in 3s. So the Torah is composed of 3 parts. Tanakh is Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketubim. The Jewish people consist of 3 parts: Kohanim, Levi'im, and Israelim. Moshe Rabbeinu, the receiver of the Torah, was the 3rd child from his mother, after Miriam and Aharon. Moshe came from Shevet Levi, which was the 3rd tribe. Levi was the son of Yaakov, who was the 3rd out of the 3 Avot. Moshe has 3 letters in his name, Mem, Shin, Hey. He was hidden by his mother from Paro, from the Egyptians, for 3 months. And therefore the Torah was given on the 3rd month of the year, the month of Sivan. And the Midrash Tanhuma expands the list of 3. And he says, if you even look at the Torah Shebe'al Peh, the oral Torah, it comprises of three parts. You have the Talmud, you have the Halachot, and the Agadot, the stories that are found in there. Our Tefillot are 3 parts. Erev, Vaboker, V'Tzaorayim. You have night, you have morning, and you have afternoon. Arvit, Shachrit, and Mincha. Our Kedusha, that we say, Kadosh, 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 is 3 parts. Moshe Rabbeinu, 3 letters from Levi, who also has 3 letters. Levi is also a tribe that has 3 letters. And of course, Torah was given on Har Sinai, which is located in Midbar Sin, Samech Yudun, 3 letters as well. So what is special about the number 3? Why did Hashem care so much that our acceptance of the Torah be connected to the number 3? There's a beautiful Gemara in Masechet Shabbat that says the following, Daf Pei Chet Amud Aleph, Darashahu Galila'a Aled Rav Chisda. A certain Galilean taught standing near Rav Chisda, Berich Rachmana Dihav Orayan Tilitai. Blessed is Hashem who gave a threefold Torah. Again, Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim. To who? Le'am Tlitai, to a threefold nation, which are Kohanim, Levi'im, and Yisraelim. Al Yedei Tlitai, by means of a third born. That was Moshe, who followed Aaron and Miriam. Be'yarchat Tlitai, on the third month, which is, of course, the month of Sivan, and also Beyom Tlitai, on the third day of separation between men and women. This is the 3 days of Hagbalah that we spoke about it. And the Gemara says, Keman, who's it's like Rabbanan. The Rabbanan hold that the Torah was given on the third day of separation, and on the fourth day, Machloket, whether the Torah was given on the 6th day of Sivan or the 7th day of Sivan. So what does this mean? What is this Gemara talking about? So if the Torah was given in 2 parts or 4 parts, then we wouldn't bless Hashem? Right? That's what bless Hashem. You should bless Hashem for giving the Torah in 3 parts. Okay, and he gave it in 4. Well, what do we consider Hashem any differently? What's the idea behind the 3? The pasuk in Sefer Shemot tells us, again, right at the start of the encounter of Matan Torah, that Hashem says, you shall be my treasured possession among all the people, because the earth is mine. And Rashi says this word segula. Segula. What does it mean, segula? Segula, he says, it's otzar haviv. It's a cherished treasure. Kelei yakar va'avanim tovot she'amelachim gonzim otam. It's like the precious stones and vessels which the kings keep and they store up. Kach atem tiyu li segula mish'ar umot. That's how you, Bnei Israel, are going to be a cherished nation, a cherished treasure more than all the other people. The Maharal Miprag says that because Bnei Israel are chosen, because they are considered to be this treasure, they were cherished to be a nation of 3. The Kohanim, Levim, and Yisraelim. What does this mean? He says this is the deeper meaning of Segula is the Lashon Segol. Segol is one of the nekudot that we have in our grammar, our punctuation. It comprises of 3 dots, 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. And each dot, no matter how you look at it or from which angle you're looking at the vowel, each dot is isolated between the other 2. Just depends on how you look at it. So they're isolated between the other 2. So each one carries its own importance. The Kohanim were isolated to perform Hashem's holy service. They were the ones who brought the korbanot to the Mizbeach. They performed all the blood services. Of course, they wore all the holy garments in the Bet HaMikdash. The Levi'im on their own were unique and isolated from the fact that they were the ones performing the songs. They played the instruments to get people into the mood, as they did every single day. And of course, Bnei Israel, arguably the Aikad, they were the ones where the korbanot come from. It's their animals from their field, from their where they raise their cattle, their flock. So each one is a bechira in itself. Each one is a treasured, precious stone. It's an am segula, and that's where the Maharal says, with the meaning of segol, 3 dots as well, compared to in comparison to the 3 parts of our nation. I want to look at a story that is said and brought down in the Gemara. It's a famous story. Many of us have learned this story before. But I came across an amazing perush that I want to share with you in the name of the Ben Ish Chai that has to connect, puts a lot of this together, what we're saying, the number 3. Amru alav al Hillel HaZaken. They said about Hillel, the elder, of course, Hillel, in partner with Shammai, was a Nasin Abedin, the last of the Zugot, one of the great Tanaim that we ever had. Shebekol yom bayom haya oseh u'mistaker betrapaik. Every day he would work and earn a half dinar, something very, very small. Hillel was extremely poor and meager. It was not a big salary whatsoever. What did he do with his half dinar? Chetzio haya noten leshomer bet hamidrash. Half of it he would give to pay entrance fee to enter the Bet Midrash. There was a guard there standing, collecting money to go and learn. Chetzio leparnasato u'parnasat anshe beto. The other half, that was his parnasah for him and his family. Pam achat lo matza leistaker. One day, he didn't find any employment, any work that day. So he couldn't make any money. The guy said, where's your money? I have half dinar. Sorry, I don't have. Sorry, you can't enter. You don't have payment. Show me your no entrance card. You can't enter. That's for a different discussion why this was, but okay. Ala v'nitla v'yashav al pi aruba. Hillel went up the roof. Kedei sheishma divrei Elohim chayim mipi Shemaya ve'Avtalion. In order to hear the Torah, the words of Torah from his rabbis, Shemaya and Avtalion, who were the previous Zugot. Amru, they said, Oto ayom erev Shabbat haya. That day that he went up was Friday. Uktkufa Tebet hayta, and it was in the middle of the winter. Tebet is smack in the middle of the winter. Ve'yarad alav sheleg min hashamayim, and on him snow fell from heaven. Keshe'ala amud hashachar, when dawn came, Amar lo Shemaya le'Avtalion. Shemaya told Avtalion, Avtalion achi, Avtalion my brother. Bechol yom abayit meir, ve'ayom afer. Every day in this house, when we're studying, it's light. And today, it's dark. What's happening? Shema yom me'onanu? Maybe, is it cloudy today? Hesitu enehen. They looked up, ve'ra'u demut adam ba'aruba, and they saw a figure, an image of a person in the roof. Alu matzu alav rum shalosh amot sheleg. They went up and they found a height of 3 amot of sheleg, between 150 180 centimeters of snow, right on this person. Perkuhu, they took him out. Virchitzuhu, they bathed him. Besachuhu, and they anointed him. Ve'oshivu keneged hamidura, they put him in front of the fire. Amru, and they said, Ra'u zeh lechalel alav et Shabbat. This man is worthy for us to desecrate Shabbat for him. It seemed that already Shabbat had entered. Maybe that was, he went up the previous night before Shabbat started. So Shabbat. So the whole point of the Gemara actually was to show that saving a life overrides the Shabbat, as brought down by this story. So the Ben Yoyada was written by the Ben Ishmael. He explains his Gemara with tremendous depth and in a wondrous way that actually, like I said, connects to our concept of 3 that we spoke about thus far. And he asked a few questions. The Gemara said that snow fell on him from heaven. So his first question is, why do you have to tell me that snow fell from heaven? Where else is snow going to fall from? Snow falls from the sky. Shamayim. Is there any other place it can fall? No. So why do you have to tell me that? That's number 1. Number 2, how was Hillel allowed to endanger himself and almost die sitting on the roof while the snow was falling? There's a Gemara Masechet Baba Kama, Daf Ayin Aleph, Amud Aleph, that says, Matzanu she David HaMelech alav shalom amar, David HaMelech himself used to say, Kach mekublami mi bet dino shel Shmuel Aramati, I learned from the Bet Din of Shmuel, Kol hamoser atzmo lamavet al divrei lamut al divrei Torah, anyone who gives over himself to die for the purpose of Torah, meaning you're risking your life in danger, eno min davar halacha b'shmo. We don't say any halacha from. What are you doing? You're risking yourself to get killed? We don't say any halacha in your name. So how can Hillel even go up there knowing that it was so cold and risking his life? And the third question, which is probably the most obvious and people don't even think about this, where in the world does so much snow fall in one spot? In one night. So I was actually doing some research today. I was looking at, the first city that comes to mind with tremendous snowfall is Buffalo. I don't know, that's the one that comes to my mind. So I actually looked up what were the biggest storms in Buffalo history. And it was more than 180 centimeters. I think there was a blizzard in 1977 that I think was like, no joke, like 10 feet over a span of like 7 days. It was just nonstop. It was crazy. But okay, but this is one night. One night, 180 centimeters is 6 feet of snow in one night. That is unheard of. And to think about that, this was in Eretz Yisrael, right? This is not Buffalo. There's no lake effect snow happening over here. So what indeed is going on over here? So look what the Ben Yoyada says. He says, first of all, you should know that night, it wasn't even cold for the snow to fall. Well, it wasn't even cold. The snow that fell was specifically for Hillel. It was hashkacha pratit min hashamayim. The snow fell from heaven only for Hillel, as we're going to see, not because of the cold. Which also answers the second question, that Hillel didn't really endanger himself at that moment when he went on roof because it was snowing. Okay, when he went up, it wasn't that bad. So I'm going to go and I'm going to listen to Torah. That moment, it wasn't that bad. It was snowing, wasn't cold. He sat up there. He was engaged in Torah. He put his mind to the words of Shemaya ve'Avtalion, and the heaven let loose snow that was specific to him. And he was so drawn to the holiness and the Kedusha of what was happening, he didn't feel a thing. It said about Rava also, there was a certain heretic that saw Rava was immersed in studying halakha. And his fingers were beneath his leg. And he was squeezing them, but he didn't realize what was happening to his fingers. And his fingers started spurting blood. He was sitting on his fingers for so long, he didn't even realize the pain. When you're so engrossed in the study of Torah, you don't even realize what's happening. So this is what's happening to Hillel at this moment. He's up there on the roof. Snow's falling and falling and falling, but he's listening so deeply to the words of Shemaiah B'Avtayon. He didn't even notice that so much snow was falling on him. So why specifically did this Pirsum HaTorah take place with snow and not some other way? So says the Ben Yehuda wonderful chidush. He says there are three types of learning. He calls them alufim. It's known alufim yuda'i. There's a verb aluf, or aleph is a lashon of learning, of a deep learning. There's three types. There's limud hasod, which is the mystical, deep, kabbalistic types of learning. That's number one. Limud mishnayot, which is bekiut halachot. Mishnayot is mainly halakha, the main, halachot that pertain to different subjects, and the sebara. And then the last one is limud ha'iyun ba'sebara. Sorry, the last one is the depth. That's like the Gemara, the Talmud. You go in back and forth, you try to figure out what exactly is happening there to know the reasons for all the halachot. Look what he says. Vekol limud nikra aleph. Every limud is aleph. It's an aluf. It's something that is very, very also special. Aluf also has a meaning of somebody that is great. Hashem is aluf. Ushlosha pe'amim aleph. If every limud is aleph, and there's three limudim, so you have 3 times aleph. Aleph is 111. Aleph is 1, lamed is 30, pei is 80, 31 is 111. 3 times 111 is 333. Ole sheleg. It's the same gematria as sheleg, a snow. Lekach, chibu b'Torah she'aya lo b'shloshet halimudim hanizkarim, through the endearing of those Torah, of the Torah that he showed through these 3 types of learning, this was expressed in this, immense snow that just fell on him. This is why the sheleg was 3 amot, which is like the 3 types of learning, which is 18 tefachim. 18 tefachim, right? 6 tefachs in the Ramah. Why 18? And he stayed alive. So that's his way of understanding this Gemara. So during Har Sinai, Hashem hovered the mountain Har Sinai on top of Bnei Israel kehar gegigit, and he wanted to teach us that the Torah to us is like the oxygen that we breathe. And just like a person cannot survive without oxygen, he can't survive without Torah. The Rambam says in Hilchot Rotzeach, the laws of murder, those people that are wise and they seek wisdom and they go out there and they study, but their studies are disconnected from Torah, it's like they're just living a life of death. They have no life to them. There's no life source, anything without Torah. If a person suffers from asthma, and he needs a puffer, certain times he needs a puffer to breathe when he gets an attack. So what does he do? Does he wait at home until someone brings it to him? Okay, I'm just going to wait till someone brings me my puffer so that I can breathe, right? Oh, I'm going to wait till tomorrow till someone brings it to me. No, if you wait till tomorrow, there's going to be no one to bring it to because you won't be able to survive this attack. You need to go out and get the puffer. What if he heard that there was a puffer on the roof? Is he going to stop himself from going there? Is he going to be lazy? Of course not. So it's the same with the Torah. Rabbi Tarfon told Rabbi Akiva, Kol haporesh mincha keporesh min ha'chaim. Anyone who separates himself from you, Rabbi Akiva, it's like they're separating themselves from life. To Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Akiva was his master, his teacher, his alufo, yudao, everything to him. Rabbi Akiva was oxygen to Rabbi Tarfon, and leaving him meant death. So back to Hillel in the story. Hillel could have stayed home to study. Not only could he have stayed home, he could have probably even went to a different yeshiva for free, where there wasn't a guy collecting at the door a half dinar, not to charge admission to hear his lectures. But he felt, for him, if I don't have the Torah of Shemaya and Avtalion, my teachers, my rabbis, then there's no life. Hillel applied the lesson of Har Sinai to himself. And that same lesson where Hashem covered Bnei Yisrael with a mountain and was ready to drop it over them if they didn't accept the Torah. So Hashem, as a response, looks at that and he says, wow, you're willing to go that far to hear the Torah of your rabbis. I'm also going to hover over you. I'm also going to cover you. I'm going to cover you with snow, but only on you. Around him, there wasn't 1 centimeter of snow. Not 1 centimeter of snow around Hillel. It was just him, says the Ben Ishai. And that snow covered him 3 amot to commemorate the Ma'amad Har Sinai, Kabbalat HaTorah that was given through the number 3. So we're still left with a question, though. A few questions. Number 1, okay, did it still have to be snow? Why not rain? Why not just a lot of rain? All right, just having a shower over him. That could have been something else. Or hail. What's specific with snow? So if you actually look at the word sheleg, sheleg is all 3s. Shin is 300, and the mispar katan of 300 is 3, because 0. Lamed is 30. Mispar katan, 3. And Gimel is also 3. Every vowel of the word sheleg is a segol, which we already spoke about, 3 dots. Sheleg is a segol. And this is why Hillel was zochet to snow. In fact, if you pay attention to Hillel, there's quite a few stories about Hillel in the Talmud. But if you pay attention, every story of Hillel in the Talmud took place on Erev Shabbat. Every single one. Right? When he met the people wanting to learn on 1 foot, it was Erev Shabbat. When the guy who was trying to bother him while he was trying to get ready for Shabbat and asking him weird questions about why do these people have flat feet or these people have round weird heads, it was all on Erev Shabbat. Why? Because according to all opinions, the Torah was given to Bnei Yisrael on Shabbat. For Hillel, it was all about preparation for Shabbat, which is his Torah. The going up on the roof, the shot, whatever it was all connected to Torah, which was given to on Shabbat. So let's get a little picky here. If every aspect of Matan Torah, like we just said, was connected to the number 3, like we said, so then why wasn't the Torah given on the 3rd day of the week? Good question. Everything's free. Why not get on Tuesday? Tuesday, 3rd day of the week. That would have been the best there. You would have completed the 3, the hat trick, no pun intended. But you would have completed all the things. Why was the Torah given on Shabbat? So a simple answer is Shabbat is a 3-letter word. Shin bet tav. Shalishi is a 5-letter word, so it doesn't match. So Shabbat, there is a connection to 3 with Shabbat. That's a simple answer. But I want to tell you something a bit better. The Gemara Masechet Shabbat Kuf Yutet Amud Bet says the following line. Powerful line. Lo charva Yerushalayim ela bishvil shechilelo ba et hashabbat. That Yerushalayim was destroyed because the Jewish people desecrated the Shabbat. So what does this mean? The Kada Kemach, the great Sefarim, Pirushim on Torah and many other ideas, he says it is proper that the existence of Yerushalayim and the Bet HaMikdash be dependent on the mitzvah of Shabbat because the Mikdash was the center of the world and the Shabbat is the center of the week. Shabbat is the middle of the week. Shabbat has Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday that precede it, and it also has Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday that come after it. And since it's the center, automatically it becomes exalted, a much higher level and rises above the other days of the week. Like in Parashat Bereshit, when it talks about the Etz HaChaim, Pasuk says that the tree of life was betoch hagan, inside the gan. The tree of life was found inside the garden. And Rashi says, what's the meaning of betoch? Betoch says be'emsa. Be'emsa is exactly in the middle. Exactly in the middle. The center is the most powerful. The same with the menorah. The ner ma'aravi, the center candle. All the other candles were facing that middle stem. of the menorah. The middle candle is the one that faces the Shekhinah. So Bnei Israel were exiled from Jerusalem, from Israel, because of their failure to keep and to protect the middle, the center, which is the Shabbat. So we see that Shabbat is also connected to three. You have 3 days before, and you have 3 days afterwards. And that's why the Torah was given on Shabbat. I felt since we're going to have Parashat Bamidbar in just a couple of days. Is there an element of three connected to Parashat Bamidbar as well? Parashat Bamidbar always, without fail, is a parasha before Shavuot. And believe it or not, there is. It's a very famous midrash, which also teaches us how to prepare for the holiday of Shavuot, Matan Torah. Pasuk says, "Vaydaber Hashem Moshe b'midbar Sinai," and the midrash says, why was it necessary for the Torah to specify the location where Hashem was speaking to Moshe in Midbar Sinai? And the midrash says that our Chachamim derive from this detail three elements that were present when the Torah was given: fire, water, and desert. Esh, Mayim, and Midbar. Fire, by Matan Torah, the pasuk says, "Vehar Sinai Ashan Kulo." The whole mountain was smoking; it was just flaming from on top. When Hashem came down on it, descended upon it on fire. Water is actually hinted to in the Shirat of Devorah in Sefer Shoftim. Gam Shamayim Natafu, from the heavens dripped with water. We know water is often an allusion to the Torah. And Mayim la Torah, we know that we've spoken that many, many times. Describes the giving of Torah. And finally, the desert, that's where the Torah was given. In the desert, B'midbar Sinai, in this week's parasha. So what's the message that the Torah is trying to convey to us by listing the weather conditions, okay, at the time that we received the Torah? Okay, there was smoke over here, fire over here. There was some raindrops falling, and you were still in the desert. What is happening? So there are three primary keys to success in Torah learning. One of them is hard work and intensity in your involvement in Torah study. We call it amelut, hard work. Number two is simcha, which is the happiness and joy that a person puts through while he's studying. And the third is anava, humility. Humility coming from the knowledge that ultimately everything that I achieve is not a result of my own effort or our own efforts, but due to Hashem's kindness that He allows me to understand, and which gives us to give us the Torah and to understand the Torah. Actually, we see a hint to this in the blessing that we recite every morning in Birkot Torah. Actually, the Gemara Masechet Brachot, gives various opinions on what blessing to say, and the Talmud lists three opinions. The first opinion is of Rabbi Yehuda, the name of Shemuel. And he says that the bracha that a person should say in the morning is Baruch Atah Hashem la'asok b'divrei Torah, which is actually the custom of the Ashkenazim. The Ashkenazim, that's their bracha, to say la'asok b'divrei Torah. We Sfaradim say al divrei Torah. But the Ashkenazim say la'asok b'divrei Torah based on this Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan, the second opinion, he says we don't say la'asok b'divrei Torah, but we say v'ha'arevna. Make the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths. And the last opinion, which is Rav Hamnuna, he says we should say, Baruch Atah Hashem noten ha-Torah, the giver of the Torah, one who gives the Torah. And the Gemara concludes, guess what? We do all three. We say al divrei Torah or al asok b'divrei Torah. We say v'ha'arevna, and we say Baruch Atah Hashem asher bachar banu mikol amim, Baruch Atah Hashem noten ha-Torah. We follow all three opinions, all three blessings before beginning Torah study. Because making a bracha, as we know, prepares us to fulfill the mitzvah. So when we make a bracha before beginning to study Torah, that's preparing us for the mitzvah of learning Torah. And now you can actually see how each of these opinions of what blessing to say correlates to the three keys in being successful in Torah learning. The bracha of la'asok b'divrei Torah, to be involved in the study of Torah, that corresponds to the amelut. That corresponds to the hard work that a person has to make necessary in order to invest in his limud, in his study. The bracha of v'ha'arevna, the blessings of the Torah be sweet in our mouths, that corresponds to the simcha and the joy that a person gets when he's engaged in Torah study. And lastly, the blessing of Noten HaTorah, or one who gives the Torah, that corresponds to the humility aspect that results when we realize that our achievement is not because we are able to do it, but Hashem gives us the ability. He's Noten HaTorah. He gives it to us, and it's His chesed to us. So now we kind of understand the deeper meaning in the Midrash. Those three elements that were present at Har Sinai, at the giving of the Torah. The first one is Esh. The first one is fire, which symbolizes Amelut, symbolizes hard work. That's intense effort in studying Torah. And the idea of hard work corresponds to that blessing to be involved in the study. La'asok b'divrei Torah. That's the fire, which pushes, and you feel a burning intensity when a person is really, really engaged. Mayim, water. Water symbolizes happiness, especially in Eretz Israel, where rain is considered a blessing and a benefit. We're all happy when it rains. Maybe not here in Canada, but in Israel, when it rains, people are happy because every aspect of our lives is dependent on water. And that corresponds to the bracha of Ve'arevna, the words of Torah being sweet in our mouths. And lastly is the Midbar. The Midbar is a desert that represents humility. The desert is a low land, it's flat land, people walk all over it, nothing grows. It is very, very humble. That corresponds to the blessing of Noten HaTorah because it takes humility to recognize that our own efforts, not the ultimate cause of our success, but rather Hashem giving us that gift. So now we know why Parashat Bamidbar is read before Shavuot. On Shavuot, we don't simply commemorate the original acceptance of the Torah, but we accept the Torah upon ourselves, brand new. In order to prepare ourselves to truly receive the Torah on this day, the Parashat, the Midrash gives us the keys that will enable us to succeed. And Bezrat Hashem, with all these lessons of three that we went around from the beginning, from Moshe to Levi, the son of Yaakov, the third month, the three letters, the Segol, and all the things doing Torah, Nevi, Tuvim, Bezrat Hashem, we shall be triply blessed to work hard in the learning of our Torah, the Amelut that was given on Har Sinai, with sweet happiness. The Torah should be sweet in our mouths, and it feel good and refreshing as a cold glass of water, so that this Shavuot will be a humble experience, down-to-earth acceptance of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's heavenly gift. Bezat Hashem will be zocher to accept the Torah Lishma, re-accept every Shavuot. That's what we do. We re-accept the Torah Lishma. We'll be zocher lidvarim arbeh, as we are going to read in this week's Perkei Avot. We'll be zocher to many, many good things and many, many good brachot. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a wonderful night.